Okay, so does anyone notice while watching Stranger Things that every time we seem to like a new character in the show, it seems like they always kill him off? I don't know what the issue is, but it seems like this show was made to make us fall in love with these amazing characters only to make us watch them get eaten, shot, and sucked into different dimensions never to be seen again. Why do you hate us, Duffer Brothers? Why? In honor of all of the amazing fan-favorite characters that we've lost over the last few seasons, I thought it was only right that we talk about the giant issue this show has with killing off our favorite characters, and to take a second to appreciate the people we've lost along the way in our fight against the Mind Flayer and the Upside Down. And that's just what we're going to do in this video. If you're new here, go down and smash that subscribe button with your brain. Yup, flex those telekinetic powers. Just don't become a fan favorite character. You know what happens to those.
He's dead!
I can only hope that they don't get any ideas on killing off any main characters in season 4. This video better age well. I don't want comments in 2 months saying Steve died, rip. They better not kill off our Steve.
Dude! You did it!
You survived 3 seasons. Please don't die. You've got season 4 and then season 5 and then we're safe. Show's over. Well, I don't know. They could go full horror. They might just kill off everyone in the end, but let's hope they like us and leave the main cast alive and mostly well. But let's dive right into the video. Speaking of our first victim, Barb. It's only right to talk about her first since she was really our first introduction of just how quick they are to kill off their main characters. The characters of this show are what made us truly fall in love with Stranger Things. Between their relationships and character arcs through the seasons, even getting to know the actors behind the scenes, watching interviews and following them on social media, you really start to feel like you actually know them. Of course, that also makes it that much more painful when some of them meet their swift end. Whether we knew the character for only an episode or two like Barb, or lived with them from the first episode to the end of season 3, it's still just as hard to see them go. We didn't get to spend much time with Barb, but we sure felt sorry for her since the only reason she wound up dying in season 1 is because Nancy was preoccupied doing, shall we say, stranger things. Knowing that Barb would most likely still be alive and probably even a main character in the show next to Nancy if they had left Steve's party when they planned to, just makes her unnecessary isolated death in season 1 that much more of a downer. I think her death was probably one of the biggest shocks early on in the show's lifespan just because it was so unexpected and quick. Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised Mike's still alive too. He's so quick to jump in the path of danger to save his friends, and even more so with Elle. At least he's got Hopper looking after him now too.
You're okay, kid. You're okay.
Come on.
Maybe you just kill Mike. I'm the chief of police, I could cover it up.
Well, that took a turn pretty quickly. We'll see how long he can stay on Hopper's good side for. Another death that was just too soon was your superhero and my superhero, Bob Newby.
Bob!
That's my name.
This was a character that, not going to lie, I had my doubts about at first, but of course, he grew on me and you and all of us just like they wanted him to, and then boom! In the blink of an eye, he was taken away from us, dying the death of a hero, and as much as it sucked to see him go, I really like Bob as a character, and he was actually really useful. Most times, the new boyfriend character in other shows usually ends up being some kind of shallow jerk who doesn't serve a purpose except to fill the gap of what once was. Bob not only proved to be a good partner for Joyce and all of her crazy shenanigans, but also a brilliant character. He helped the group figure out the tunnel system in season 2 and even reset the entire computer lab system using his knowledge of basic programming language. He just ends up being a really likable and very useful character. Well, no, he's a straight up hero. He saved everyone's lives and sacrificed his own so that they could live. So when Bob just barely manages to reach Joyce and Hopper at the lab exit only to be attacked and brutally killed by a pack of demo dogs, it really hit hard, you know, where it hurts. You never truly know who's going to survive in this series, especially when it gets close to the finale like this. Which means that every character is always in danger of facing a gruesome death just like Bob. And the more likable the character, the more likely it is that they won't make it to the next episode. Now, keeping right on track with the other victims, Billy was another member of the Stranger Things B victims. Season 1, Barb. Season 2, Bob. And Season 3, yes, Billy. And if it wasn't for that crazy Darth Vader redemption arc in that final episode, no one would have batted an eye, let alone shed a tear when he was brutally killed off by the Mind Flayer. If you remember, when Billy was first introduced, they spent the entirety of his time in season 2 building him into such a dislike antagonist that if they would have killed him off then and there, everyone would have been happy. He was a jerk to Max, he was a jerk to the kids, just all around someone they made to not be liked. But even looking through the lines, we can see that he himself faces his own set of hardships and problems. He may not show it, but there's things in his life too that hurts him and that are just completely out of his control. We can clearly see the toll his father's abuse abuse takes on him as he mirrors it and takes it all out on his sister Max. Ever since his biological mother mysteriously abandoned him in his childhood, he was just never the same. Moving forward, he felt alone, unloved, and eventually grew into a childhood bully that we see carried on through his time in Season 2 and Season 3. It wasn't until 11 unlocked his consciousness after the Mind Flayer took over his body to harvest half of Hawkins for his giant meat puppet that we truly saw him turn over a new leaf. And in just that little moment that 11 peered into, we were able to see the true Billy, the part of himself that died so long ago after his mother left. 11 unburying this little memory and bringing his mother back into the spotlight for him was enough to shake him from the Mind Flayer's grasp over him, which no one else was unfortunately able to do. Instead of turn to mush, he was able to regain control over his body enough to protect Elle from the Mind Flayer long enough for Susie to finish her musical number and Hopper and Joyce to shut down the portal. I mean, not to mention the extra 3 minutes Susie took to sing her song could have been used to shut off the portal sooner, stopping the Mind Flayer before it killed Billy. I've still got a bounty up on Susie's head. If she doesn't get fed to a Demogorgon in Season 4, we're rioting in the streets. No, but honestly, it was so exciting to see Billy become good in the heat of the battle and save the day. This made it hurt so bad to see him get killed off just a moment later. Could you imagine what it would be like if they beat the Mind Flayer and Billy was still alive and good now? The dynamic would be so interesting to see. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him for his episode in Season 4. Let me know in the comments what you think this is going to be about. And don't forget to subscribe. YouTube has this problem right now that's randomly unsubscribing you from your favorite channels. So don't forget to go down and make sure YouTube hasn't accidentally unsubscribed you. It really helps me out, it supports the channel, and it's completely free. I'll be doing more Stranger Things videos that you're not going to want to miss. Now, sadly, we're not going to be seeing this next character in Season 4 as far as I can imagine. The Smirnoff Russian himself, Alexei. This rogue scientist won our hearts through his love of cartoons and cherry Slurpees. And even though he was only in 1 season and didn't speak a lick of English the entire time, he was still one of the hardest characters to see get killed off. Like, why? That was so unnecessary. Why couldn't he have run off and lived the American dream life under a new alias with all the Woody Woodpecker cartoons his heart could take? Why did they have to do him dirty like that? Alexei by all means could have just been a throwaway side character, but despite the fact he only speaks Russian throughout the entirety in the show, you still find yourself loving this little character they blessed us with and really start feeling for him as a person. It's obvious pretty early on that he's not evil like most of the other Russian higher-ups in this season, like the Terminator who gives Hopper a run for his money. In fact, Alexei also proves to be incredibly helpful and even endearing to the show's regulars, to the point that even a by-the-book character like Murray comes around full circle from interrogating him at gunpoint to enjoying spending time with him and showing him around an American fair. In a series where young romances are falling apart, monsters from other dimensions are trying to invade our reality, and evil Russians are trying to open portals to other said dimensions, it was such a breath of fresh air to see Alexei being so wholesome all season and just enjoying himself at the fair. Of course, sure enough, at just the moment where he's being the most wholesome and we love him the most, they send in the Terminator to execute him and all of our hearts. One bullet, and there went both Alexei's wonderful night and one of the purest, most heartwarming characters to ever come on the show. F's in chat for Alexei, boys. Now, next I have a few honorable mentions before we get to the final heartbreaking death of the show. The biggest reason these are honorable mentions are, well, you'll see. The first one is Dr. Brenner. Yes, I know, he's not the nice guy. This dude literally bottle raised at least 11 children that were stolen from their parents. Most were actually a part of his experiments before they gave birth to their children, and then he proceeded to steal their children from them and fry their brains, or at least those that spoke up and said something about it. Nonetheless, his death was extremely shocking, or at least what was framed to be his death. It seems he got the easy end of the stick, and Eleven had mercy on him, sparing him from her wrath as she squeezed everyone else's brain from inside their head. Thankfully, a Demogorgon takes him out though, and the scene ends, leaving us to believe Papa is dead. Well, at least until Elle tracks down one of his goons in Season 2 with Callie number 8, another test subject, and they pry the truth from him that Brenner is in fact still alive and he knows where he's hiding.
Brenner! I can take you to him.
Papa is gone.
No, he is alive.
I'm so excited to see him return in Season 4. I'm really curious if Elle will be the one to kill him off, or if he'll end up helping them out in some way. I have no idea. And just like Brenner, Hopper too only briefly died to be resurrected in Season 4. Hopper's death, in quotation marks, was one of the most tear-jerking of them all. They completely had every single one of us fooled that he had died, and we were all in full mourning mode by the time that they gave us the smallest strand of hope 15 minutes later that he just might still be alive. Once again, we're blaming Susie for his death as well. Just 3 minutes of extra time and they would have gotten the portal shut down before Terminator caught up with them, stranding Hop on the side of the massive portal death gun. If you're telling me you didn't shed a tear when Hopper died, you're lying. 11 reading that note he meant to read to her was just the cherry on top of the cake. They really had us going, and in the moment I was just so shocked that they killed off such a huge main character, and just because he's returning doesn't even secure his spot in the next 2 seasons. They could easily be baiting us just so they can make an even grander hero's death at the end of season 4. And while I hope that's not the case, we really don't know with the Duffer Brothers. I'm excited to see him return in season 4. Let me know in the comments what you think of his new haircut. Obviously it's better than that atrocity that's on Will's head, but what do you think of the cut? Next up, and the final death that I thought was worth talking about before we get season 4 is the one and only Muse. Muse is Dustin's cat that we were introduced to in season 2. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him for very long, as shortly after we saw him, Dustin's new pet, Dart, which turned out to be a demo dog, ended up eating the poor thing. And just because his screen time was so short-lived doesn't mean his death was any easier on us. This guy was definitely one of the cutest on the list to go, and also the one who was replaced the fastest. By the end of season 2, Dustin and his mom already adopted another kitten, which they named Twos. Most likely a little homage to Muse, as well as the second Muse, or Twos. Let me know which character you missed the most in the show, and subscribe so you don't miss the next Stranger Things video. And until the next one, I will see you in the comments. Peace.